Welcome to part 2 of our look at the new pig system on Seasons 19 on console with me, MrSealyp. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are on part 2 of our FARROW to feeder / finish. A feeder to finish operation is run differently to this. That will be on a separate episode. This is part 2 simply because it fit the way it needed to be broken up. There was no way it was going to be too long otherwise. I would urge you to watch part 1. Part 1 we do FARROW to feeder. The whole process will go FARROW to finish, but we did FARROW to feeder in the first part. We've got our sows, our Yorkshires in this one, and we've got our spotted in this one. What I've done is sold off all the surplus that I had. So if you watched part 1 already and you're watching part 2 now, what I've done is I've gone back to my original 20. I've sold off all the surplus, but I am keeping a track of it, so when I get to the end we can look at the FARROW to finish as a whole to see just how many animals we would have got in the entire process. So my first pen has got my Yorkshires in, 20 of. They're breeding. This menu is so messed up now. If you watch the first episode, you'll understand. I don't know why. It's telling me how many animals I've got, it's telling me how many new births I've got, it's going through the feed and cleanliness, no problem at all. If I go across to this menu here, it's showing all my animals as 33, 34 pounds. It's not showing any of them how they actually are in the pen. I don't know why it's done that, but for some reason that menu is tripped out. So we've got our spotted, again 20. These two pens, this one here and this one here, are our pens that we moved our piglets into to be the feeders, to bring them up to feeders. And we have got some that are in the right weight bracket now, that would be sold as feeders. But because we're going on in part 2, this part, to finish, what we've got to do is take them to £280, roughly around £280, and that would be considered finish, and that's when you sell them all off. Now we do have a mixture of males and females. The males you would absolutely sell off anyway, and if you are running a true FARROW to finish, you would sell them all off, keep your breeding sows and sell them all off. That said, if you've got a load of females and you want to keep them, you can, and you can have those as breeding sows. They will just become your breeding sows in addition to. According to Realismus Modding, pigs will last for 6 years before they start to die of old age. So at some point you will want to consider swapping out your sows for new ones anyway. So what better way to do it than keeping hold of some of your females as they grow up? That kind of makes sense. So yeah, we've got 97 there, 92 there, on top of the other births we've had already. I mean, we're looking in excess of, well, my Yorkshires, we've got 97 in there plus 19 that I've sold. 116. These I've had, wow, actually, yeah, 92 and 46, 138. So at the moment my spotted are outperforming the Yorkshires, but that can all change on the next lot of births, so you know, who knows. So the pens over here, these are my 2 breeding pens. These 2 pens here have got my feeders in, so we've got them FARROW to feeder. We're at that point now. In the end of the last episode, that's where you would sell off your feeders. If you're doing FARROW to feeder, you sell them all off. We're carrying on now and taking them to finish. So some of these are at £30, £33, some of them are at 70, 74, 77. We've got a whole mix in here. This menu is working fine. The other menu, I don't know why it is playing up. So we've got males and females mixed in. We've got some £70, £73. We need to get these up to about £280 to get them to finish. £74, £77, and we've got some younger ones at £33. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep feeding them. We're going to go through and see how many more months it takes us to get them to £280 when they'll be at the finish point. What I'm going to have to do though is on this menu here, any new births I get, when I get up to around 100 in each enclosure, I've got to sell off the excess. I've got nowhere to put them. I did say in the first episode, if you are going to do pigs, you need to buy the big enclosures. The small enclosures only hold 100 each. The large ones hold, is it 200 or 300? Let's have a quick look actually. I know there are loads and loads of different mods for animal pens, but the standard pig enclosures, the large one holds 300. And in all honesty, it's so much more expensive, but you need the space. The prolific nature of their breeding, you absolutely need the space. Even if you have a small pen for breeding and have just a breeding, like I've only got 20 breeders, and then potentially have a larger pen for 300 to put all of your piglets into, to bring them either up to feeder or on to finish, because you're going to need the space. You are going to need the space. I really didn't realise how many of these we were going to get. So I like to say, we'll move on. I'll get cracking. I'll make sure they're all fed, they're all watered. The end ones I'm still not putting straw in. I just want to see if they stay as prolific at breeding. But yeah, that's what we're going to do, and I will see you in what'll be early winter next, won't it? Early winter, we'll see how many more bursts we got. We'll see how much weight our feeders are putting on our way towards finish. See you in a bit. It's early winter, we're on month 7, so the first month beyond feeder in towards our finish period. There's a couple of things I want to, so a few things I want to mention at this point. A couple of carryovers from part 1. One of them being that my menu that was all messed up, what I decided to do, I've been saving the game as I've been going along, but continuing, what I decided to do was save the game, come out of the game, reload it and come back in, and it has reset everything. So what it looks like now is this menu is now working again. It's actually giving me the correct weights for the animals that are all in the pen, I think. Yeah, so all my original ones are all back to normal. So I had to save it, come out the game, come back in, and it reset that. So my initial worry that this menu was then in some way kind of ruined and you couldn't keep a track of what you had, if you just save it, come out, come back in again, that worked. The second thing was, weirdly, the animal trailer, and I said that I've never ever had a problem before with loading or unloading at a trigger on any map I've ever played on with whatever placeable. I know sometimes if you don't place it correctly and you've got it's a little bit too high or too low, the trigger doesn't always work. I've never had an issue with that, but I did. Here's how I solved it, and it's a very, very strange one. Again, if you're having problems with it, maybe this is why. This is what I found. If I drive through the load and unload point like this, I'm driving through the unload point, and I click L3, it won't come up. It won't give me the menu to load or unload, which is very peculiar. But if I don't drive through it, if I avoid driving through it but back onto it, it works first time. So I'll show you on this one. If I don't drive through that load and unload point and I just back onto it, the trigger will work immediately. I have no idea why it's doing that. It's never done that before. Press L3, menu opens, no problem. If I go back to this previous one and back onto it this time without driving through it, it should. It's almost like it resets. I don't know why. Very, very odd. Doesn't matter which way I come at it, but as long as I don't drive through that box. Like I said, I've never had that happen before. Very, very odd. Back onto it, press L3, menu opens. So yeah, my advice is, if you're struggling and you can't get that menu to open properly, you don't know why, it may be because you've driven through the box. I don't know why it's doing it, but that might help you. And then the last little bit before I move on, feed them all and move on to the next game day and another month forward, is that as my animals in my feeder pens, not my breeding pens, these are these two here, my feeder pens, as they are gaining weight, and they are gaining weight. If I go into this one here, which has got my 97 of my Yorkshires, and that one's got my 92 spotted, if we go across their weights, they were on 33s and 70s, 74s, 77s. I've now got 76s, and then 140s or something, 130s, 124s, 130s. So all these animals have doubled in weight. If you look at their food, that was one game day. Now the food's supposed to last 2 game days, and at the start of yesterday it would have done if they'd stayed the same weight. But because they're doubling in weight so rapidly, they're consuming way more food. So when they're doing that, if you've got a feeder pen that you're fattening up, you may need to be feeding them once in the morning, once at night, especially if you're going to skip through the night, because you do not want to get to a point where that runs out. If that runs out, you can end up with animals dying. So you need to be very, very conscious of the fact that as these animals are gaining weight rapidly, you may need to be feeding them more often. because the trough will only take so much. And this is what I've got to do now, is I'll put this in now and it will take it. But the problem I've got is, if they gain weight again rapidly between now and tomorrow, they could use all of that easily in 24 hours. Well, it's not 24 hours. I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? Because I'm doing three-day seasons, it's technically a month. And they're gaining so much weight in that month. So, again, just something to be aware of. Just make sure you're keeping an eye on your feed. I said it before in some of the previous animal tutorials I did. You cannot take it for granted that just because you filled up the feed, just because you've done certain things, it will remain that way. You've got to keep coming back and checking. You have to. That's just the way it is. So, I'll skip forward again. Hopefully that might solve a couple of problems if people are having issues with those particular things. It's just things I've picked up on as I've been going through. So I will see you in midwinter. See how much weight they've put on. A lot of them have doubled. Whether they're going to double again, I think it takes from farrow to finish. I'm sure it says it's a 10-month cycle. 4 months for them to start breeding and piglets to be born, then 6 months to get them to finish, I think. So that's what we're going to be checking. Right, we are in late winter, month 9. We are probably one more day, one more month away from our finish. We have had some more new births. What I've been doing, as I kind of said, I either said it on part 1 or I said it at the start of this one, any surplus now that get born, because I can't fit any more into the pens, the feeder pens, my birthing pens, I'm just selling off the surplus. So at the moment, it has slowed down. We're into the winter months, and our spotted and our second enclosure of Yorkshires have ground almost to a halt. There are some that are coming in the next month or 2, but I haven't had any more. The top one of my Yorkshires, I've got another 9 from yesterday. So I'm keeping a running total of how many births we have had in total, including the ones that are going to be in the feeder troughs, the feeder pens, just so we get an idea over the course of a year how many young potentially you're going to get. Obviously that gets scaled up the more animals you decide to have, and at the moment it's looking pretty crazy. So my initial pens, I'm going to get rid of those 9 and then I'll be down to 20 in each. As far as our feeders to finish go, because we are on that process. Part 1 was farrow to feeder, now we're doing feeder to finish, so the whole thing will be farrow to finish. We have got animals ranging in weight in this enclosure, our Yorkshires, £225, 247. I think we've got one at 251. We're looking at £280 is what the Realismus website says is where you're going to be getting rid of your finish animals. But what you also notice as we go down through the females, they are saying next animal in. So some of these animals, although they're not actually at a point where I'm ready to sell them off, we could start getting young from these animals. It's they're very productive. So again, there's that choice. Do I sell them on? Do I keep them as breeders? That's a choice you're going to have to make. You might decide to move some of the breeding animals back in and sell some of the others. Again, it's entirely up to you. So I think one more game day, one more month, and we are going to be at the point where these are going to be at finish and should be worth kind of the most. That's where you should be getting rid of them as a finish animal. What we will do is we'll skip ahead 1 month on from that and see if they're worth any more money, if 280 is the magic number, or whether they'll go up or down in value after that. It will also depend on the time of year you're selling them, but at the end of the day, now what I also said was we had newborns, and the newborns say newborn. These ones here that are around the 229 mark, where are we? 200. That's weird. Why is the one that's saying £229 saying mature? And the £251 one, which is heavier, is saying young. That must be round the wrong way, surely. Unless they're in the transition period between the two. So we have newborn, young and mature. And the mature ones are the ones that are going to start breeding. So, yeah, we're getting there. And the same with our spotted. They're exactly the same. We're looking at anywhere between £216, £235. What I would say is, because the Yorkshires do say they are the the queen of breeding, so to speak. They are getting up to that weight, that magic number we're looking for. Where are we? That one we're looking at. They're getting up there quicker. Are they? Hang on. Yeah, they are. Only by a little bit, but they are getting to that magic weight a little bit quicker, I think. But again, not by so much that they make them that's the breed you absolutely must have. So what I'll do, I'll see you again. We'll be in early spring. We'll be at month 10. We should be at a point where we can get rid of the Finnish animals. Some of the ones won't quite be there yet. And this is the thing you're going to start to understand, is this is a rolling process. You've got new births coming in. The new births can then get moved into a pen. You've got your young, which are going to go into mature, to the Finnish animals. You can either sell them on or keep them as breeders, and the whole cycle rolls round and round and round and round and round, and you just keep going. It doesn't do it en masse in a big block, but you will get certain sort of rotations round. So it's all going really, really well. Really well. Happy. It's early spring. We are on month 10. We have some animals which are at the finish point, which means they've gone just beyond the £280, which has kind of been set as the farrow to finish point. And even if you do feeder to finish, £280 is still considered to be, that's kind of the magic number. I'm going to do another day ahead, which will be another month into mid-spring, just to see whether or not they go up in value any more from there. We have had some more new bursts as well. We've had another 17 on each of our enclosures, on our Yorkshires, on our spotted, and on our Yorkshires without straw. So what I'm going to do is look at the totals for those at the moment, okay, including our 97 and our 92 in there, and all the ones that I've sold, because obviously these pens only hold 100, so I couldn't fit any more in. Our first set of Yorkshires, in total we had 20 animals that started breeding. And that's all we've stuck with. We've had those 20, and those are the ones been breeding. Those first Yorkshires have given us 191 births. That's on top of the 20. So the 20 animals have given us 191 piglets. So we're going to look at the prices of what they're going to be worth, and multiply that by 191 and see what figures you're going to be coming out with. Our spotted have given us 170. They haven't been as prolific, but like I say, it's a little bit random, and I don't know whether as time progresses, if you go through more months and more months, whether those numbers will balance out, or whether the spotted are going to work out just to be a little bit less productive. They were neck and neck for quite a long time, and they seemed to drop off for a couple of months. They didn't seem to produce anything. Weirdly, these ones down here, my Yorkshires that have had no straw at all, their health has been a little bit lower than the others. They've given us 195. So they've given us the most new births out of all of them, which is an interesting one. But I mean, 191, 195, 170, that's a lot of animals on top of what you get standard. So that's pretty good. Happy with all that. Slurry production and manure production is continuing as it would do. So if we have a look in this one here, this is our Yorkshires, this is our feeder pen. Remember, these first two are our breeding pens, this is our feeder pen. So we have got, if we look across, these ones are at 262, so they're not quite the 280 yet, but £298, that's gone past the 280, 589. Now we paid for the Yorkshires 960, so they're not worth what a breeding animal is worth yet, but that's still 589 per animal. That's over and above what we had. Now, I'm going to put this out there now. Yes, when you start factoring it, if you want to go down the rabbit hole of looking at all the economics for everything, if you factor in what you pay out for the animal pen, the equipment, the machinery, the livestock trailer, all the stuff you need for doing your crops, if you're going to feed them with crops, if you're going to buy pig food, you factor in all the pig food, and then you work all of your costs out, and then look at what you're going to make on the flip side of that. A lot of the animals, a lot of the jobs you do within the game will look on paper to say, economically it's not viable, you're just not making enough money. The thing with these they're a long-term thing. So if you do decide you're going to run seasons and you're going to keep your breeding animals for the 6 years up until they can potentially reach a point where they might die, think of the production over 6 years, how much money you'll recover back over and above your initial investment. The facts and figures will vary, and are incredibly complicated to work out once you start going down that rabbit hole. All I was doing was showing you how you do it, how you feed them, at what months you're going to get animals, or what months you're going to get piglets, how long it takes them to grow. We're at month 10 and we have got some animals which are in the finish stage. We can sell those now. Like I say, I wouldn't sell them directly from here because you're going to be charged a fee. It's 100 per animal, so you're going to lose 100 off those totals. You're better off getting a livestock trailer. Even if you get a small cheap one and just go backwards and forwards, it's still going to work out in the long run, over a much longer period, a better way of doing it. So yeah, 589 at the moment is what our most valuable ones are worth. They're at 298. We've got any more that are over £280? Yeah, 298 seems to be the magic number at the moment. The ones at £260 are only worth 528. So you do want to get over that £280. So what we'll do is have a look at the spotted, see what they're going for, because we've got some that are ready for finish there. Then we'll skip ahead one more month and see if they're worth any more, whether it's worth keeping hold of them any longer. So I don't know if any of these have actually reached that magic number yet. Oh yeah, we've got some saying 289. So that's just gone over. So £289, 575. So not worth quite as much. They're not quite as heavy though, but they've gone over the 280. We could sell them off now if we wanted to, but again, we'll have a look and we'll come back in another month and see if that value's gone up any more, or whether it's gone down after the that magic 280 number, because it might be worth keeping hold of to month 11 or month 12. And we'll keep a check as well on how many births we've had. I'm going to stop at the 11 to 12 month mark. Obviously you can continue on, you can keep going with this. And you're going to get more births and more animals and make more money, and the whole thing rolls round and rolls round. But I just wanted to kind of show you how it goes, and these animals reproduce at quite a rate. So, see you in a minute. Right, it's mid-spring, it's month 11. This month I'm going to call it. Potentially, if you keep going, you might even get more money. I mean, I could keep going on and on and on, and it would, things would still change. We have had more births again. Looking up here, that one's up to 67 from 20. 78, that one's at 64. So in total births, and this is where I'm stopping, this is where I'm calling it. On the Yorkshires in the first pen, we had 221 births in 11 months. From start to finish. 221 births. The spotted, we have had 211. They caught up a little bit, so not too far off the pace. The enclosure didn't have any straw. I've had 222 births. So only one more than the control group, if you want to call it a control group. So yeah, 221, 222, somewhere between 211 and and that's with a starting set of animals of 20. You imagine if you multiply that up, 40, 60 animals to start off with, you could be looking at 600 births in a 11, 12 month period. That's, or probably even more if you go into another month. As far as what they're worth, well, the animals yesterday that were on 200 and what were they weighing yesterday? 298 pounds. I've now got them that are weighing, where are we? 329 pound. Couple there at 329 pound. I think I've got some at 333, which are the heaviest we've got. Where are they? 333 pound. And then I think I've got some at 309 pound as well. So if we go with the heaviest we've got at the moment, yesterday's they were worth 589, they're now worth 663, so they have gone up a little bit more. Potentially if you go into month 12 they might go up a little bit more again. There will be a point, I suppose, where they will start to lose value, but at the moment, for a finished animal, if I made sure all of my finishers all got to that weight and were worth 663, with 221 births, I will have made in 11 months 146,221. I've still got my 20, my breeding 20. I'm not factoring what it costs for those because I've still got them. I haven't sold those off. This is all over and above. But then of course you've got costs, you've got feed, you've got maintenance of vehicles, all those kind of things that you may want to take off. Or I'm just looking at the actual price for the animals that you can sell them for. And you may even make more than that if you continue on and fatten them up even more. So that is the end of part 2. we have gone farrow to finish through part 1 and part 2. Farrow to feeder, feeder to finish, right the way through. The next video I'm going to do will only be feeder to finish, and that will not involve sales at all. It will be buying these Gloucestershire old spots over here and Berkshires or Berkshires, and they are piglets. We're just going to buy the piglets, fatten them up, so there'll be no sales involved. So that'll be a completely separate way of doing it, of just running a feeder to finish rather than all the way through the entire process. There are probably going to be things I've missed. There'll be, facts and figures. I'm sure people are going to run the numbers and they're going to work out all the economy of it and whether it works out they're worth doing or not. I'm staggered by the amount of animals they're producing. Like I say, with a starting number of 20, to come out with 221 new births in 11 months. Scale that up and get yourself 3 or 4 pens, especially some of the modded ones. We can have 500 animals in a pen. Blimey, you could make some money doing this. So there you go. I hope you found it useful and informative in some way, shape or form. If you have, give us a like. If you don't subscribe yet, please do. If you want to leave a comment, feel free. And if you want to share this video, then please be my guest. Whatever you should choose to do. As always, thanks for watching.